it's all the more impressive to be able to present to you all an audit that not only has a clean opinion, but also has no audit findings. And to me, that's something that you all should be proud of. And to me, it really speaks volumes about the hard work done by your staff. Kelly, Dustin, the entire finance department really does a great job. They were very accommodating, our audit team. They worked hard to address all of our questions and get us everything that we needed in order to get the audit finalized on time. And you know, one thing about the city that I very much appreciate is that you all are proactive and not reactive. You know, if something comes up during the year that finance has a question about, they'll go ahead and call me. They'll email me right then. They want to know the answer at that time. They don't want to wait until the audit begins to get those questions answered. And you know, that proactive communication throughout the year really helps lead to a smooth, efficient, and timely audit. So again, just want to thank your finance department for all their hard work this year, and we certainly enjoyed working with them. Now for a brief overview of your financial statements. Again, you all prepare what is called an annual comprehensive financial report, otherwise known as an ACFR. An ACFR goes above and beyond the basic financial reporting requirements. This document is submitted annually to the Government Finance Officers Association, otherwise known as the GFOA, where they put it through a pretty stringent review process. Not only their professional staff, but they also have a special review committee that looks at your report. And when they look at the city's ACFR, their goal is not to assess the financial health of the city. What they want to do is make sure that the necessary information is in your report so the readers of your financial statements can do so themselves. And through this review, the city has been awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for FY22, and that certificate is included in the FY23 report. And I believe this is the 35th year in a row that you all have received this certificate.
Wow.
Again,
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, to give you some perspective, we serve over 700 governments throughout the Southeast. Of those 700 governments, around 175 received this certificate. Very few can say they received it for 35 plus years. So again, it's an impressive document, and it's another example of you all continue to raise the bar and again, going above and beyond. As you look through your financial statements, you know, one section I always like to point out is the management discussion analysis, otherwise known as the MD&A. It begins on page 5. It's right after our audit opinion. I always strongly encourage our clients to read the MD&A. The purpose of the MD&A is really just to kind of make it easier for the readers of your financial statements to better understand this report. And it does so by providing a narrative explanation of the financial statements from management's perspective. So, you know, if you have a question about any fluctuations in activity, anything unique or unusual that occurred during the year, oftentimes you can find your answer within the MD&A. In addition, there's quite a bit of comparative information in that section, meaning there's financial activity disclosed for not only FY23, but also FY22 as well. And you know, to me, that adds a lot of value to the reader. It gives you a much better understanding of the current year activity when you have those prior year numbers there for comparative purposes. So if you can, please take the time to read through the MD&A. The city's basic financial statements, they're broken up into 3 components. The first of which is your government-wide statements. The government-wide statements, they provide a broad view of the city's operations in a manner similar to what you would see in a private sector business. All the funds of the city are combined under one of 2 columns depending on the nature of the fund. You have a column for your governmental activities, and you also have a column for your business type activities. But as you can see on this slide, you know, this slide summarizes the city's financial activity for the year from the government-wide perspective. And you know, again, as you can see, the city ended the year with assets and deferred outflows of resources of around $282.2 million. Approximately $147.6 million of that are your capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation. Again, capital assets, that's the land, buildings, machinery, equipment, vehicles, et cetera, that's owned by the city. You all also had about $90.8 million in cash investments on hand as of year end. Look at your liabilities. They were approximately $81.4 million. Of that amount, around $37.9 million are long-term in nature. I mean, they're not due within the next fiscal year. Revenues were right at $81 million, which was an increase of about $6 million compared to prior year. Expenses were around $73.3 million, which was around an $18 million increase compared to FY22. This resulted in an ending net position of around $200.8 million, which is an increase of approximately $7.7 million million for the year. So, all in all, a good year for the city from an entity-wide perspective. Your increase in revenues were partially off. Well, your increase in revenues partially offsets your increase in expenses. Public safety expenses increased around around $10 million compared to FY22. I believe there's some further discussion within the MD&A as regards to that increase. But again, the city overall has a strong balance sheet. It's in a very good liquid financial position, and overall is really in good shape financially. The second component of your financial statements are the fund level statements. Again, this is what you all typically see throughout the year. This component, it focuses on individual parts of the government and it reports the city's operations in more detail than that of the entity-wide statements. And of all the funds that you all have, if I'm in your shoes, my primary focus is on the general fund. Again, the general fund is the main operating fund of the city and therefore accounts for the majority of your revenues received and funds expended. But we have a chart on this slide that shows the general fund's revenues for the year. Again, this is just for the general fund. But total revenues were around $48.8 million. That's an increase about $4.9 million compared to FY22. Taxes obviously continues to be the biggest revenue driver for you all. It was around $40.7 million, and it accounted for around 83% of the general fund's total revenues. Again, taxes, this includes property, sales and use, business, and then other miscellaneous taxes. So all your taxes are kind of lumped in together in that one category. You all also had about $2.4 million in charges for services and around $1.8 million in licenses and permits for the year. This next chart shows the general fund's expenditures for the year by function. Expenditures total $40.5 million. That was an increase around $4.6 million compared to prior years. So, the general fund's increase in revenues essentially were offset by their increase in expenditures. Once again, no surprise that you see here, public safety, as it is for most governments, continues to be a significant expense item for you all. It was around $20.7 million, and it accounted for a little over 50% of the general fund's total expenditures. You also had public works expenditures around 4.7, and general government expenditures of approximately $8.4 million for the year. When you factor in other financing sources and uses, such as transfers to and from other funds and proceeds from the sale of capital assets, the general fund's fund balance increased approximately $5.3 million for the year for an ending balance of $34 million. This next chart shows the fund balance history of the general fund over the past 5 years. It's always interesting to kind of reflect back on where you were compared to where things currently stand. And to me, this chart really speaks volumes. Not only have you all done a great job of increasing your fund balance, it's nearly doubled since 2019 when it was right at $18 million. So, with everything that's gone on over the past 5 years and the economic uncertainty that has followed it, it's impressive to see how you all have consistently been able to stay within budget and increase your fund balance. So again, that's something that council, management, really everyone involved with the city should be proud of and commended for. And to further kind of break down your fund balance, and one thing I always want to remind people about fund balance is not what you all have in the form of cash for discretionary spending. Fund balance is merely the difference between assets and liabilities, only a portion of which is cash on hand. We have a chart here that kind of further explains the different classifications of fund balance. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the general fund's total fund balance is right at $34 million. A portion of that is non-spendable. It's in the form of prepaid expenditures, inventory assets. Those are assets that you are not able to spend. Approximately $1.2 million is assigned, meaning it's intended for a specific purpose. In this case, it's intended for subsequent year's budget. And this leaves around $32 million as unassigned fund balance to fund your operations. And another thing to keep in mind is the general fund incurs expenditures of around $3.3 million per month. So you all ended the year with an unassigned fund balance equal to approximately 9.5 months worth of operating expenditures. That's a very strong fund balance, especially for an entity with a September 30th year end, such as yourself. It's really common for governments that have a September 30th year end to be kind of lean during that time because it's right before your property tax revenues come in. In fact, this fund balance is more so representative of what we would see out of a December 31st year end when, you know, you're at a spot where you've just received your property tax revenue, or you've just received a significant portion of your property tax revenue. So this is a very strong fund balance for you all, and again, it's certainly something that you all should be proud of. And, you know, to kind of further that thought, you know, a question I'm often asked is, you know, as long as we're able to pay our current obligations, what's the point of having a strong fund balance? And, you know, there are several reasons for this. One of which I just mentioned. You know, property tax revenue is obviously a significant revenue item for you all, and it's cyclical in nature. You're not getting that equally over the year. So, you know, a strong fund balance provides you the cash flows necessary to cover you through the months when your revenues are lower than they are during other months of the year. Other reasons are to cover significant emergencies that may come up, unexpected or unanticipated expenditures. It provides the city with the flexibility for discretionary spending. There's a potential for better interest rates when the city issues debt, which again would save you all money. And you know, it's definitely important in uncertain economic times, you know, and we've seen that, you know, from the financial crisis back in 2008 to the global pandemic in 2020 to just weather-related issues that sometimes come up, unfortunately, that we have to deal with. You know, again, if I'm in your shoes, it's awfully comforting to see that we have a strong fund balance for you all to be able to kind of withstand those events as they come up. So again, you know, congratulations to you all on that, and that's certainly something you all should be proud of. A couple of the funds I want to briefly mention are the three enterprise funds, which again are your stormwater, your water and sewer, and your amphitheater fund. Again, enterprise funds, they're used to account for operations in a manner similar to that of a private sector business. The goal of these funds are to be self-sufficient and to generate sufficient operating revenues to cover their operating expenses. And you know, this chart shows the operating revenues and expenses for these three funds. And as you can see, all of these funds continue to do quite well. All three had operating revenue. They generated positive operating cash flows, and all three are in good shape financially. So again, that's certainly something that you all want to see out of your enterprise funds. One final item, again, as I mentioned earlier, is just certain information that the auditing standards requires that we communicate to you all. Again, with you all receiving a clean opinion and no audit findings, the information on this slide is essentially a formality, but we received full cooperation from management and staff. There were no disagreements with management on any kind of accounting-related issues. There was no significant issues discussed with management that would have affected the financial statements. We had no uncorrected misstatements. And again, we are independent of the city as required by government auditing standards. And with that, unless anybody has any questions, that concludes my presentation. You know, as you look through your financial statements, there's a lot of information in that report. What I've tried to do is just very briefly and quickly highlight what I think is of most importance to you all. But again, if there's anything that you all have any questions on, I'll be happy to answer that at this time. But again, one more time, just want to thank your staff for all their hard work this year. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to be of service to the city, and look forward to working in the future.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Council, questions, concerns?
I'd just like to maybe say that Kelly and Paul Salvatore are doing a great job for us. Paul's not here.
No,
Paul's not here.
no, that's all right. Any,
He's on vacation with the money we made.
any questions, concerns?
I just have one. Just how many years have you been doing this for us?
10, maybe?
10?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And it's over those 10 years, obviously, we've gotten some of those certificates. So obviously, we're doing all the right things, and it's what your presentation basically said.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks very much.
Mayor, I just want to say thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, you know, since I've been here, we haven't brought Malton and Jenkins in to give a report to, I mean, we get the report every year, but we haven't had them come to a presentation at a council meeting. And thank you for coming, because I think it's important to get up and do this so people can, you know, we can give a brief overview to everybody of the report itself. So,
Happy to be here. Look forward to coming back next year.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having me.
yeah.
It's always professional too. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yes,
Good to
thank
see
you.
you again.
Thank
Thanks.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Madam Mayor, we have 4 people signed up to speak. First person to speak is Ms. Jackie Peachtree.
Thank you. Can we get the lights back up, please? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And thank you for getting my name right. That was really good. That's a difficult one. My name is Jackie Peachtree. I live at 1005 Mickleton Lane in Stony Brook neighborhood. We've been in Peachtree City, me and my family, for about 5 years. And I'm here representing not only my 5 children, but 250 families that currently swim for our competitive swim team in Peachtree City, and 1,200 families that participate in the swim league every summer. And I'm just here to say that we got really excited when we saw that the council had ordered the master plan for recreation, and we're very interested in working with the council on trying to figure out how we can get a new pool structure that can fit the needs of the community. We've kind of outgrown the Kedron pool, and we're looking to build something that is possibly, that would handle cradle to grandparent. So the whole idea is to make sure that we can bring all families in, a lot of different swim programs, and just make it a nice addition to a very, very active community. So that's my only comment. And if I, just as a little sidebar, I really appreciate that the council is doing some of the meetings in the mornings for moms like me who are so busy running kids around at night. So thanks for doing that.
Thanks very much.
Second person to speak is Ms. Rhonda Quillian.
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Quillian. I live at 302 Carina Court in Peachtree City. Been there for about 30 years. Thank you for letting me speak. But I'm compelled to say that I'm upset by a couple of things. So the first are the attempts to hinder citizen knowledge, discussion, and input of issues of importance to the governing of our city. I've got 3 minutes to state my concerns, tick, 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 and I'm not allowed to speak about anything on today's agenda. So as a citizen, I apparently have to be able to tell the future and know the issues before they're publicly addressed on the agenda, or I've got to hold my comments until after the agenda and possibly has already been voted on before I have the opportunity for input. So neither one of these are options that are conducive to public involvement. Furthermore, if I do ask a council member to put something on the agenda so that I can hear the discussion of the pros and the cons, even that may be hindered. At the April 18th council meeting, when Councilman Holland attempted to follow the procedure to get something on the agenda, I was appalled by Mayor Lerner 3 times interrupting him, saying that she had not been notified that this was going to be brought up, or that it needed to be discussed among the council members first before it was brought up for a public discussion. The mayor repeated the same badgering and interrupting at the next council meeting, but this time it was Councilwoman Brown. So to the entire council, you are not elected to have discussions behind closed doors and then arrive at the council meetings already having made up your mind on the issues totally devoid of public knowledge, discussion, or input. And Mayor, you are not the sole arbiter of what is put on the agenda for discussion, and there is no requirement that you be told in advance that a council member wants to put something up for discussion. This is why we have a council, so that no one person can dominate and dictate what is done within the city government. So to the entire council, I appreciate it when you are open to public discussion, public comment, but above all, Mayor, I'm asking that your behavior of interrupting and trying to intimidate our council members, that it's rude, shameful, and embarrassment to the citizens of Peachtree City, so please stop. When a council member seeks to put something on the agenda for public discussion, you're doing your job. Thank you. But when you try to hinder them, you are not doing yours. My second concern is the attempts to push the agenda regarding high-density housing or the plan for Peachtree City. Mayor Lerner, you said that you're not pushing more apartments, but this is sort of a word game because you don't say you're not pushing townhomes or condos. And I'm really not interested in playing the word games. The last election should have been a clue. The candidates who were supporting this new plan of high density did not get elected. So this tells me that the majority of citizens of Peachtree City do not want to mirror Fayetteville, where the masses of townhomes and condos now dominate the landscape. We do not want the traffic problems, the negative impacts on our schools, or the many other problems that come with it. So therefore, please stop working against us. In summary, we
Your
need
time
leaders.
has expired.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
Thank you.
Next up to speak is Mr. Al Yogel.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Council. Al Yogel, 214 Riviera Court in Peachtree City. Been a resident of Peachtree City for 33 years. Have a close relationship, as you know with Keep Peachtree City Beautiful, but I'm sneaking in here as a resident. I want to talk to you about the removal of the public recycling containers throughout the city. I think we put out 140 of them when this started. We work with the city and many contracts and so forth, and one is recycling, one is trying to improve the environment and so forth, and to promote recycling and have opportunities for it throughout the city. What's happened to us is that the market conditions have completely disappeared for what was one time one of our most popular items. Plastic, for example, some other things, paper and so forth and so on. And consequently, I'll go off card now. We have 140 containers out there that are trash receptacles. And so we're pulling them back so we don't have to go and check them, and we'll have more time to take care of the cardboard, which is our biggest problem right now, and the other trash that's in our cart pass systems. So I just want you to be aware of that, and when you see them, we'll be removing all 140 of those. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last to speak is Ms. Mary Plant.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for all the time the mayor and the city council put into making really tough decisions on behalf of our great community. My name is Mary Plant. I live at 404 Vanderwall. My husband and I have been there 30 years, and we raised 2 kids in this community, and we feel so lucky that someone whispered in our ear when we were being transferred to Atlanta, hey, check out this community called Peachtree City on the south side. So it's been fabulous. I am also here to speak on to hoping that there's community support and council support for a new aquatics facility here in Peachtree City. My maiden name was Mary T. Maher. I was one of the fortunate competitive swimmers that made 3 Olympic teams, won 3 gold medals in 1984 and an additional silver and bronze in 1988. What that sport did for me as a competitive swimmer was amazing. I'm so grateful, but I also want to just mention that I pretty regularly get together. We have reunions with fellow teammates and the 29 others that were in the pool with me at the same time, pushing each other. We all talk about what the sport did for us, the discipline, the challenges that we had to overcome, the adversity, and how that has helped us in our life while raising kids and attending to curveballs that have been thrown in our life since then. So Jackie mentioned the cradle to grave. I totally believe in that. The opportunity for kids to learn to swim, for seniors to do the water aerobics. I still occasionally swim at the facility, private club, One Life here in Peachtree City, and I can barely get done with my laps before the aquatics group is in taking those lane lines out and trying to claim their spot in the pool. So I think the seniors would love it. I think the importance of PT being done in water is well known. And I just think that a new aquatics facility here in Peachtree City would be a huge asset to our community. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
That's all for now.
Agenda changes, council? No?
Ma'am.
Minutes, May 2nd, 2024 regular meeting minutes, May 2nd, 2024 executive session minutes, May 7th, 2024 workshop minutes. Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as submitted A through C.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Consent agenda. A, reclassification and position title change for 1 public communications specialist. B, approval of new cardiac monitor purchase. Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept the
Approve.
approve the consent agenda, items A and B.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Old agenda item 82201 CST Crosstown and Peachtree Parkway Roundabout 60% design.
Good morning, Dave Borkowski, city engineer. Not used to saying good morning, usually it's good evening. We have Dan Davis here this morning to do the presentation on the 60% design for the roundabout. And I'll ask him to come up. Taller.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor,
Good
members of
morning.
the City Council, citizens of Peachtree City. My name is Dan Davis. I'm with Integrated Science and Engineering. Here to present something that was a challenge that was issued to us by your predecessor council, and I really should say councils. This is a project that we've been admiring for about 10 plus years. Is the congestion at this intersection, the intersection of Peachtree Parkway and Crosstown Road. Your previous city council, we had the design at a 30% level before with your immediate predecessor council, and their direction was for us to advance this to a 60% level. And the reasoning behind that was primarily to get a tighter range on the cost estimates. At a 30% level, there's still some unknowns. At a 60% level, we've begun to identify some of the unknowns and detail the design. What you're seeing there in front of you now is a rendering, if you will, of the 60% level, and it shows the detailed islands, the slip lanes as we call them. This is a single lane roundabout. More about that in just a minute. First, a little background. We have been working with city staff now for over 10 years. We have, this project was identified in the Fayette County Transportation Plan, how long ago? 2004. So it's been a priority for a while. It was funded by SPLOST. We have now finished another traffic study update, and so now as I speak to you this morning, there are 5 traffic studies that have been performed on this intersection, each with traffic counts updated over the years. The traffic studies have identified 2 solutions, a traditional traffic signal, and then secondly, a roundabout. And there's a process that leads to an opinion and a conclusion in each of those traffic studies, and all 5 traffic studies firmly conclude that a roundabout at this intersection is the proper way to go. We did, at the behest of prior city councils and city leadership, we did look at a 30% design for a traditional traffic signal at this location. A traffic signal at this location would improve the current level of congestion from an F for some of the worst turning movements to a C. And the levels of service are just like the report cards we got in elementary school. An F is an F, an A is an A. So implementing a traffic signal at this location would improve it in the worst turning direction from an F to a C. However, that level of service declines over the next 10 years down into a poor range or a D, just like we would get on our report card. The roundabout solutions, we have looked at no less than 15 different tweaks of this roundabout. Ultimately, one day, and we'll all be gone, all of us in this room will be gone, ultimately one day this needs to be a multi-lane roundabout. I think we'll all be gone by then. Initially, a single lane roundabout will improve the level of service at this intersection from, say, the current worst turning movements right now from an F to a B, a solid B, and it retains that B level rating until the year 2045, that's a good investment of city funds, right? That's what we look to expend money and see something provide a service for a lengthy time. There are extensive utilities at this intersection. Any utility that you can think of is there, and sometimes they're twins of it, including a big 20-inch water main from Fayette County that's been there for a long time. So the design has to anticipate the need to relocate those utilities outside of this footprint. In the 30% design, we had looked at a multi-lane roundabout, the ultimate implementation of a multi-lane roundabout, so that we didn't have to relocate the utilities at that time. So we got them pushed out at when we were at the 30% level of design. That was causing more encroachment than you see right there now, and I'll explain that in a minute. So again, we went from a 30% to a 60%. What's happened over the last 10 years is you're seeing roundabouts implemented across the nation. They are. I'm very passionate about roundabouts. I'm a believer in them. They're safe. They're much safer than a signalized intersection. They're quieter. Cars and trucks don't come to a complete stop and sit there and idle and then have to start back up. Particularly heavy loaded trucks, the noise. So it's much quieter on the intersection. The pollution level is better. But the biggest plus is the safety. At a signalized intersection, when you have an accident, you have a T-bone accident. And that's the most hazardous, that's the most hazardous of all the accidents. At a roundabout, the worst case is you have a quartering, a left quartering, somebody coming in from the left quarter of a car. So that's much safer than a T-bone accident. So roundabouts are the way to go. And then, out of my expertise, but based on my observations over the years, is traffic signalized intersections sometimes cause pressure to change in land use. And you've seen that over the years, any little city that you go through in Georgia. Whereas a roundabout, if you go through roundabouts across the state, you'll see that generally the land use stays the same. The standards have as these have been implemented nationwide, the standards have been refined. And so we've been able to take advantage of a newer DOT standard that shrinks this footprint a little bit. It maintains the capacity while reducing the footprint a little bit. We're still relocating utilities outside of the ultimate multi-lane, but we're able to pull those in somewhat too. So what you see here details what it would look like, and the impact of the neighbors would get no worse in, let's say, the year 2050 if a multi-lane were implemented. There's enough room here to do that. Two of the corners that are impacted by this are city green space, and you can see those are identified on the east side. On the western side, there's the Regions Bank, and then there is the assisted living facility, and town Arbitraries, yes. There has been a good amount of communication over the years with the neighbors on all corners, including recently. Members of staff have met with Arbitraries. We've met. Regions Bank has been harder to get in touch with, but the impact of them is really marginal. And then the neighbors to the northeast and to the southeast. I think the neighborhood to the southeast does not have an active, I think I got that right, does not have an active HOA, so they've been a little bit harder to communicate with. The dark shaded green areas are areas there that will remain natural as it exists today. So you can see there's still a nice buffer to the neighbors there. And then the light green depicts areas that would be disturbed by construction and replanted with grass or other hardscape. the cost for this, now that we have the design advanced to a 60% level, is $3.2 million. In that $3.2 million, we have anticipated the cost for the acquisition of right-of-way and easements. We've anticipated project management fees, additional engineering fees, and then the cost to construct that. Our reference for this cost estimate has been 2 recent roundabouts that our company has completed, in addition to reaching out to contractors who specialize in this type of work. There are contractors who specialize in roundabouts. Construction of a roundabout at an active intersection like this, where you have to main traffic, is a specialty. It's not a typical road job. So we feel good about our cost estimate at the 60% level, $3.2 million. The next steps from here are to advance the design to a 100% level of design and put the project out to bid. It's my opinion that this is the solution for this intersection. I encourage you to give it consideration. If you go here in the mornings, and I encourage you to do that in the morning early, as commuters are trying to make their way north on Peachtree Parkway and take a left on Crosstown, and look at the length of the queue, look at the length of cars stacked up. And in the afternoons on Crosstown Drive, going eastbound, trying to turn right, southbound on Peachtree Parkway, it's a significant backup, that intersection. So this is the right thing to do. It's my opinion and recommendation that the city move forward with this project. And with that, I'll stop and answer any questions. And I'm backed up by staff here today for any.
All right, council?
Before we get into council questions, Dan, can you talk about how the intersection right now is a non-standard?
That's correct.
Intersection?
Yeah, this intersection, as it was designed and as it exists out there, does not meet any of the standards that us engineers refer to. So a 4-lane intersection, a 4-lane road intersecting with a 2-lane road, and that being a 4-way stop, just a standard stop sign, is not a standard. The traffic study notes that numerous accidents that have occurred at this intersection over the last 5 years. There have been no fatalities, but there have been some of these T-bone accidents that I'm talking about, and it's the T-bones that lead to loss of life. So it does not meet any standard that exists.
All right, thank you. Council, questions or concerns? I'll start on this end.
I get to go first. Couple quick questions on cost. The 60% cost you just said was $3.2 million.
Yes, sir.
At the 100% level, is that the same value, or will that go up?
It may go up, it may go down.
But that's the best estimate as of this time,
That's right.
$3.2 million.
That's right.
Okay, that's first question. Second question is the slip lanes that are in there. It appears that some of them have a nice long lead time and getting in, and some don't. Is that something that will be looked at again, or is that just the way it's going to be?
That is a refinement of our design, and working with the traffic engineer, that is our recommendation on. So the slip lanes not only guide safety, but they also guide efficiency of the movements. Particularly in the mornings, northbound, making that left, going on Crosstown, and then in the afternoons, eastbound, Crosstown, making their way south. So it will guide efficiency and safety.
Okay, that's good, and that's important to have the people merge in properly and all of those things. Third question is the roundabout design. As the speeds are relatively low, it shouldn't be an issue, but when you have big trucks potentially coming through there, coming up or down, making left-hand turns, going around that, if their speeds are not right, there's obviously the chance of tipping or straying out of their lane. Has anything been done to mitigate that issue?
This is what's shown here as a design standard. Tractor trailers in particular, this intersection or this roundabout, and I don't know if you can see, there's the inner green circle there, and that will be a landscaped area. We can do something actually very nice inside of that. Just outside of that, you see a circular round,
Dotted line there.
dotted line, dotted area. That is actually an area that will be, that when a tractor trailer comes through that intersection, his wheels will actually go up onto that.
Okay, so there's a little room so that they're not gonna be, tipping over or going too fast or whatever the case may be.
I'm not gonna say never, but
Yeah, of course, but that's what it's designed for, which was a
That's
good
right.
explanation. And last question is, if you're going westbound on Crosstown, the entrance into Arbor, is that been looked at more
Yes.
seriously, and how to get in and out of Arbor Terrace?
yes, sir, and I'm glad I missed that point. Thank you for bringing that
Okay.
up. So you'll note that at that intersection, we're recommending, she had it highlighted. Who's doing that? You'll note that at that intersection right there, we are recommending that that driveway be converted into a right in, right out only. So if you're leaving, well, if you're entering into Arbor Terrace, you'll be able to turn in just like you do now. If you're exiting Arbor Terrace, you're gonna be forced to come out of there and take a right. And you're gonna have to go up to the roundabout, go around 180 degrees, and then come back if you're trying to go westbound. That's gonna be a safety issue for those residents and the people coming in and out of, visitors coming in and out of that facility, and it's a safety measure. It also will relieve some congestion. It seems inconvenient, but once you get into the habit of it, of coming out and going through the roundabout, and if you're trying to go westbound, it'll become second nature. By the second or third time you do it, it'll become second nature to you. We're also, and again, thank you, Councilmember Holland, for bringing that up. So down towards the bottom of the page, for those exiting out of Village Park, that right there is a full flow intersection right there. You have probably seen these being implemented. They're on Highway 74. That needs to be converted into what we call an R-cut. And so if you're exiting out of Village Park, you will, under this design, you will not be able to cross the intersection and turn north on Peachtree Parkway. You'll actually have to turn south and do a U-turn to come back north. So that's a safety feature, but it's also, it helps with the efficiency of this intersection. And then
Thank you, Dan. I brought those up there. I have one last, and I'm sorry, I've got one more question, Madam Mayor. On the entrance into Arbor Terrace, if you're coming southbound on the Parkway, will you be able to make a left-hand turn into, you'll be going westbound on Crosstown, will you be able to make a left-hand turn into there? Or will you have to go down, somehow make a U-turn and come back and enter into the right?
you will unfortunately have to go down, make a U-turn, and come back through the roundabout to make it in.
Into where?
Well,
Arbor
let me
Terrace.
take that back. You're gonna have to get into Arbor Terrace, you're gonna have to, yeah, you're gonna have to go down to the shop. You're gonna have to come eastbound or westbound on Crosstown and turn around there and come.
Turn around
in.
at Kroger and
Yeah.
go back down eastbound on Crosstown and then turn right into Arbor Terrace.
We have looked, in one of the multiple variations, we have looked, can I point to where we were gonna do a cut into the parkway? There, yeah. So we have looked, and we did actually discuss with Arbor Terrace folks of putting in a new driveway right there.
Okay,
And that's not off the table, that's a possibility. But that's private land, that's not under the city's
It's their
control.
land.
And that has to be something that they desire.
Are we in conversation with them?
We have had recent conversations, yes, the staff has had recent conversations, not about that specific issue, but just about the overall project.
okay.
So that's something we can implement.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just wanted to clarify, Dan. You said all of the utilities will be moved far enough so that the next variation of this traffic circle or roundabout, all of the utilities are gonna be out of the way when that has to happen.
That's right.
Okay.
And the big one is the 20-inch Fayette County water main. That's a big project to move that out. We don't want to have to do that again in 20 years. I think let's get it.
Yeah,
Let's get it.
I just hate to see projects where they pave a street and then have to cut it up to do stuff with utilities and stuff. I mean, that's not quite exactly what this would be, but,
Right.
you know, if you're gonna move the utilities, let's move them.
Right.
Any others? Ms. Brown?
No.
Ms. Johnson?
Any questions?
Mr. DeStadio?
I was just going to say, Dan, that was a good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I'm pretty familiar with roundabouts. I would tell you that that's not really that complex. And I'm reminded of what the GDOT engineers stated in a lot of their answers to the citizens. Just follow the directions. There's a lot of direction signs you're going to have in there about your R-cut and making roundabout turns and stuff. And slow down when you're in those trucks trying to get into the center of that. Just follow the directions, and you usually get through pretty well.
Yes, sir.
I think it's a good design. I think it's going to help us a lot. Do you have any idea how long it's going to take?
Length of time to, first of all, to advance this to 100% design, I think we're probably looking at 3 to 4 months.
That's after you get started with
That's right.
the
That's-
design.
That's correct.
I'm just worried about, right now we've got citizens that are upset with 5474 intersection and what's going on. I mean, we haven't really gotten started in there yet. When we get in here and we start moving a 20-inch water line, this is going to take some time.
It is. Yeah, so just the design, probably 4 months, and then I would allow for another 2 months of preparing bid documents, getting it out to bid, and 2 months after that for evaluating bids, checking on contractor references. So construction could probably start close to the end of this year. Utility relocations just by themselves, I would allow for 4 to 6 months. I was going to say close to a year with all the things that have to go. Maybe as much as a year for the utility relocations, and it's that water line that's the biggie.
That's what I'm getting at, the construction time.
The construction time, I think, I would allow for 1.5 years, 2 years altogether.
That's what I expected.
If it weren't for the utilities, we could put this in 6 months.
Thank you. I think we just need to get ready for that.
That's right. Ms. Brown?
Yeah, sorry, I had a little note that I had written. Can you further define the non-standard intersections, just so that everybody, because I mean, we talked about it with Dave,
Sure.
but, and also where that leaves us with regard to like liability and legal issues with having a non-standard intersection that we are not addressing, or fixing, or changing.
Sure. So us engineers, we reference design standards that are, the DOT has some good design standards. There's an association called the Association of State Highway Safety and Traffic Officials. Is that right, Dave? Close enough. That is arguably probably our top standard there. They're very comprehensive. They look at this type of thing across the country and really across the world. There's another reference source called the MUTCD, Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices, but the AASHTO is the top standard. You won't find this design anywhere in AASHTO, and I don't think you would have found it 30 years ago, honestly, 50 years ago. You just don't do a four-way stop of a four-way with a two-way. You just don't do that. So it's amazing that, our citizens have made it through that intersection. They find a way to get through there, but we've had enough traffic incidents over the last 5 years This needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I'm good.
Ms. Johnson?
Sorry, now I do have a question. Does this come before us one more time once it's at 100%, or does it go automatically out to bid once you're at that point?
That's your direction to us. You provide the direction to us. We could come back and do a 100% presentation to you, along with an updated cost estimate at that
That's
point.
what I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Taking off
I-
on Councilmember DeStadio's, questions about the signage and striping and a lot of good direction, what have you. I'll take this opportunity to pick on the attorney a little bit. So if you've been to Europe, and I'm sure several in this room have, there's no signs. You get to a traffic roundabout, traffic circle, and you just make your way through. And you go in France, what's the name of the
Champs-Élysées.
yeah, have you been through that
It's-
big circle that's right there?
Been through it.
And everybody just makes it through. It's amazing. But here in the U.S., because of attorneys, we are loaded with in my opinion, way too many signs. But that is the standard now, and that's what we'll call for is that standard. And this will be lit also. A traffic circle needs lighting, and at my age I just had my birthday last week. I'm 65 now. That night vision is diminishing. So something like this needs some lighting so that you can see a little bit better out of the sides as you're making your movements. Whose statue? Dave's statue is going to be.
Enough about the statue, Dave.
All right, the
All
statue.
right.
I have one more, just
Yes.
a money question. You had said in the initial part of this that this was part of the 2004 tip out of the county. And then you said there's also SPOS funds that are gonna be allocated to this. Is there any overage that's gonna be needing to be brought in from another source?
I'll answer that question. There's 1.5 million allocated from an IGA with the county in 2018 from 2003 SPOS funds. So the county would reimburse us 1.5 million of the cost. We have a little under $500,000 for this intersection from 2017 SPOS, which gets us, close to two?
Yep.
So the rest of it would come from, since it is a SPOS project related with this intersection, any overages can come from SPOS surplus from
Is that
2017,
2017?
which we do
Okay.
have.
Okay,
All right.
there
Any
you go,
less-
thank you.
Any other questions? In the council packet, it says we need to decide whether we want to move to 100% design. Do you need a motion?
Yeah, I kind of want a motion for, motion to approve, design up to 100%, and to bid out the project. If that's-
And to bid the project.
Mhm.
Can I get a motion to move to 100% design and to bid the project?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we go to approve to go to a 100%
Design.
design standard, and also send this out to bid after it comes to the council for final approval.
Not after, and to bid the project out.
Do we want to bid it out before we approve it?
We would, I mean, we could come back with 100%, we could, whatever council wants to do, but we can go to 100%, bid it, and then it would come to you for final
Okay.
approval.
Why don't we restate the
Yep.
motion, because it's, the way you just worded it, it was.
Yeah,
that
they'd
it
have
would
to come
back
here
the
before they
council.
bid.
Right.
Mr.
Yep.
Meeker, would you
Yep.
state the motion?
I think Justin has it.
I need
The
somebody-
motion
But
is
it's up
to
to-
take it to 100% design
And
and bid the project out.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. It's good to be moving forward.
Since 2000, whatever, 4.
Yeah.
2003.
New agenda item, 52406, 2024 paving bid award.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So this is the annual paving bid. Staff solicited bids from several paving companies again this year. We received 4 bids. They ranged from $5.5 million to $6.5 million, and it encompasses about 10.5 miles of road resurfacing. We have funds available for this project in both the LMIG program and SPLOST 17. So From the bids, Atlanta Paving and Concrete, again, was our low bidder. So we're asking council to award the 2024 paving bid to Atlanta Paving and Concrete in the amount of, okay, they really like fives, $5,555,555 even.
All right, council, questions?
I always like you coming up here because you always have good news about paving roads around the city and paths about here. So I appreciate you coming up with this.
I let Dave give all the bad
Yeah.
news.
Can I get a motion, please?
I can do it. Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the new agenda item 052406 paving bid award to Atlanta Paving and Concrete for the amount of $5,555,555.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
New agenda item 52407, drainage easement abandonment request, 713 Magnolia Walk.
Mayor and council, before you is a request to initiate an abandonment of a portion of an easement. The subdivision at issue has on its plat reflected a 20-foot drainage easement along the rear of the property. A pool permit was pulled and construction started. Unfortunately, the pool encroaches 3.8 feet into that easement area. We have an ordinance on this issue. It's actually section 915 of the zoning ordinance, which provides that no permanent structures or improvements shall be placed on any officially designated and recorded easement areas. If council wants to consider and move forward with the abandonment, we would have to, of course, comply with state law requirements for abandoning any interest in property. So if council's not interested in moving forward, then a motion to that effect would also be fine. I mean, ultimately, abandoning property is one of the last vestiges of true discretion on council's behalf. It's whether you think it's in the best interest of the overall city or not.
Thank you. Is the property owner here today, and would you care to make a comment at the microphone? Either side, wherever you're comfortable.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Jolie McCarthy. I'm a pediatrician. I relocated down here in June with my 2 kiddos and my then boyfriend, who was from Sonoy. Wanted to be closer to family. We got engaged on Saturday, so now fiance. But anyways, we chose Peachtree City for the schools, the neighborhood, the golf carts, etc. We bought this new property in Smoke Rise Corners in June and stood out back with the developer, with the foreman, with the pool folks, and basically before closing said this is what we plan to do with this property. No one ever disclosed to us that there was an easement in the back and that half of our backyard essentially isn't even our backyard. So we scaled back our pool, we scaled back the concrete. Inadvertently, the measurement was taken from the edge of our back patio, which again is only 3 feet 8 inches, as opposed to the corner of the back of the house. So unfortunately, the pool was dug and poured 3 feet 8 inches into this easement. So our options to us were posed to apply for a variance or ask for abandonment. I was counseled that abandonment was the fastest way because we've now been stuck for 2 months with a concrete hole in our yard and no work. We hired a hydraulic engineer to perform a full study, and he determined that there was absolutely no issue with the drainage patterns, rainfall, etc., with where the pool is currently dug and poured, so that it would not be a problem with any of the city's drainage, whatever, what have you. I'm sorry, I'm negligent on all of the proper terms. So essentially, we're asking to please consider abandoning 3 feet 8 inches so we can continue with our project, finish this pool hopefully this summer, and just enjoy our new house. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council?
Madam Mayor, I don't like giving up easements, so I'd like to make a motion that we deny this drainage easement abandonment request 052407 at 713 Magnolia Walk.
I have a motion. Can I get a second, and then we'll discuss?
I have a second.
I have a motion and a second. Now we're open for discussion. Council?
I guess my biggest concern is that every time we have a variance, an ordinance, somebody makes a mistake, whether it be the contractor or it be the owner, and then they're in here asking us to put aside our ordinance. And I'm, for one, tired of doing that. We do ordinances for a reason. You know, we need to hire proper people, qualified people, and prepare the site so that we're doing it properly. Every time we do a pool lately, something's wrong with it, whether it be an in-ground pool or it be just a small side pool. And when are we going to stop doing this? I think we need to put the ownership on the owner. Hire the right people or take it out. So I second your motion.
It's already seconded.
Anybody else?
You seconded?
Yeah, Frank, I seconded it. I agree. The easements are a tricky thing. It's hard to predict when you're going to have that 100-year rainstorm or whatever that's going to be a problem. And if you don't have the easements that are functioning the right way, it could be a problem. So I'm not in favor of this.
Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, this is a sticky one. I guess there was some reassurance that I got with the fact that we have an engineer on this project that looked at it and gave his stamp of approval that nothing would be messed up by us abandoning this easement. But my question is, when another neighbor wants it and they have the same situation, how do we move forward? It poses a lot of questions for me. Madam Mayor, I'm interested to know what you would think on this.
Sure. First of all, I see a hand raised. Are you the property owner or significant other? I'm the swimming pool builder. I will listen to your comments if you would care to take the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Timothy Broadwell. I'm the owner and project manager for Atlanta Pool Solutions. I grew up here in Peachtree City, and there's been, it's very important, I've heard the comments and I understand the concern, but it's very important to know that there has been a lot of work done on the front side of this before it happened. A lot of discussion has been had. There's been a lot of inconsistency from the city, what we have been told to do. I was told from the very beginning a variance was not even possible. And so up until just the last email just within a week and a half ago was the first time we've ever been even told that a variance is on the table. It's also important to note that our engineer that we hired has spent a lot of time on this and have given a lot of insight to the fact that this drainage easement cannot even properly be located. This is, in my opinion, that you go into this backyard and not always paper meets reality. There's a 20-foot easement on this plat, but when you go in the backyard and you see where the water runs, it runs way closer to the green belt. There's actually, from the back of our pool wall, there's 33 foot 6 inches of plenty of room that could be used if there was ever an issue to address anything. The swell that is currently in place is not even, it's not like you look at this plat and you see it's 20 feet wide and the swell sits dead center of that 20 feet. It's not a good, this plat is not a good representation of reality in this yard, which has led to a lot of this. There are in place or on other properties in the yards down this whole subdivision retaining walls that actually go further past our pool, again leading to how this 3 foot 8 inches happens in the first place. So I just want to assure council, I understand the concern. I understand that other contractors may be taking the city for a ride. I have done a lot of work to try. I have a very good reputation. I've been working on pools for 26 years. I'm a fireman in Coward County. We're just asking for 3 foot 8 inches so that way we can do a good job for our homeowner, finish this out. It's important to also note that the back of our pool is what's called an exposed wall design, which means it's actually on the back going to have a rock face and work as a retaining wall. So in the event that there was a 100-year flood and our engineer that we hired still got it wrong, there's no way water could encroach on my homeowner's property. So I just feel all that information is important because this wasn't done as haphazard as it may sound. If you would take the time before you would deny this request to do your due diligence to read the engineering report from our engineer that's been provided to all the council members for quite some time now. Every one of you have been emailed all these reports. Whether or not you've got them, I don't know, but the information has been sent. We're pretty passionate about not leaving our homeowner just stuck for months. We've asked for a lot of information to get through the process with the city, and to be honest, communication has been very difficult and inconsistent with the city, the requests that we've been asked, and we've done everything we've asked, and every time the city's come back with different requests that are inconsistent. So I just ask you reconsider and approve this so we can finish this yard for our homeowner, move on, and honestly, any swell, anything that needs to be created on our behalf to make the drainage better, how it's going to work downstream, we're happy to do that. If you'll please reconsider.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Can I ask a question?
You may ask a question, yeah, of staff.
Who put this
There you go.
excuse me. Is this our picture, or is this a picture from the homeowner?
I believe it's a picture from the pool company,
The pool company?
with the red and blue circles.
That's what I was gonna ask, but
Yes, sir. Well, that's a picture of the back of their house.
You need to go to the microphone so
Yes.
everybody can hear you.
Thank you.
I was just asking.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, yes, that is a picture of the back of the house, and that's how the inconsistency occurred. So what that picture represents is on the initial survey we were provided, it showed 22 feet from the back of the house to where the drainage easement is alleged to start. When we pulled measurements, we pulled from what the back of the house to us is the roof line. When the city requested a pool foundation survey, so we thought we were actually 4 inches to the good. When they asked for a pool foundation survey after the pool had already been put in place and the permit had been issued, our survey company that we hired came back and said, we're 3 foot 8 inches over, because they actually went off of where the back door of the house is and not the roof line. And that's where the 4 foot discrepancy, which led to 3 foot 8 inches into the easement, led. But it's very important to note that even McLean Survey Company, in email that's been provided to the city, said that this drainage easement cannot be exactly located because there's no, and I'm not a professional surveyor, but it's all being done by scale. There's no pin placements to where that drainage, is. And this has been evident to us that we're kind of caught up in a much bigger issue that has to do with the developer of the neighborhood and maybe the builder of the neighborhood. What we're asking is that we're just the pool builder for one property, one client, and we're trying to move forward for them the best way we can so they don't have this just empty hole for a year in their yard. So
I understand that. I'm just looking at this drawing, and you can see that the edge of the property is over on the right, not over on the left where you got it.
The house, Frank, you mean the edge of the house, the back
The
wall
edge
of the house.
All right,
Anyway,
thank you. Thanks. This is absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, during a construction inspection of the pool, it was discovered that the pool was not built according to the approved plans, and a wall had been built 3 feet 8 inches into the city's drainage easement. I have a concern about replicating this exact same situation with additional neighbors on the same street. And I have a longer-term concern about identifying the cumulative effects on a swale that is in a separate but related issue, a swale that does not necessarily exist yet, but should. So I'm just absolutely heartbroken to say that I think, Doctor, that your issue is with the pool company, and I have to support the denial. Mr. Broadwell, if it's any comfort, a variance would be harder. I don't think that would be a comfort. And I just want you to know, we have the engineering report. 3 of us are engineers, and we do have that in our packet, and I did read it with intense interest. And I think I can speak for my fellow council members that we take this very seriously, and this information is included in the packet. But for those reasons, I will be in favor of the denial. Ms. Johnson, do you have any last questions or concerns you want to share?
I feel like we discussed a little bit about the city's path going forward concerning what we can do in the future in this development. Is there anyone that can speak to that? How we, like, or is that just that's probably just a separate issue?
Separate.
That's probably not, it probably doesn't pertain enough to this particular instance, right? So that would be the separate. Okay. That's all I need to know.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the denial, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I'm terribly sorry, the denial has passed. Public hearings for a new alcohol license, 52408. Qualified location permit, Leela's Place.
Okay, I'll read the, excuse me, the protocol. When the public hearing is opened, members of council will become hearers. No action on their part is in order until the mayor declares the hearing complete. First, city staff will present the item. The mayor will then allow a total of 10 minutes for members of the public to comment. No individual member of the public will be given more than 5 minutes to speak. Time limits may only be extended by a majority vote of council. Prior to closing the public hearing, city staff and the public will be given the opportunity to ask questions. When the mayor is assured that input is complete, the public hearing shall be ended and council may then debate the issue and render a decision. All speakers from the public are asked to follow these rules. Please wait to be recognized by the mayor. Come to the microphone and state your name and neighborhood prior to making remarks. Keep individual remarks under 5 minutes and please do not repeat others' comments. Address all comments to the mayor. Thank you. Okay, good morning, council and mayor. Leela's Place, it's an event center, and they have requested to get a qualified location permit in order to be able to serve beer and wine at their functions. They are located at 110 Genevieve Court. The qualified location, like I said, will allow for beer and wine to be served. There is no cash bar allowed at these qualified locations. And each time an event occurs, the vendor who's going to be providing the alcohol must come and get a special event permit from the city. The requester is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak? Would you like to speak? You don't have to. Thank you. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I hereby close the public hearing. Council?
no comments.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Okay, now I'll read the protocol for, nope.
I'll call the public hearing 52409, resolution 516-2024 PH 2024 capital improvement element annual update.
Good morning. Robin Caillou, our Planning and Development Director, would ordinarily be doing this, but she's at a training this morning, so she asked me to fill in. So y'all all know I'm the finance, not necessarily but a lot of this deals with finance. So the city collects impact fees, and as part of that process, we have a capital improvement element, which is part of the comprehensive plan. So nothing about this is anything that hasn't been budgeted, hasn't been planned, hasn't already been before council. This is just simply asking permission for the resolution to, if you'll, I do have the, to send a report of the impact fees to the DCA, which is the Department of Community Affairs, and the Atlanta Regional Commission. So we have a plan in place. We can only spend impact fees on expansions or new services. And every year we do a report that shows where we started the year, the impact fees that we collected, the categories that we collected them in, and then the impact fees that we spent and where we stand at the end of the year. And this is simply asking permission to sign the resolution, to send the information to the ARC and the DCA. They'll review it, and then it'll come back to council for adoption.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Do you want to read the resolution?
We typically do not, but we
Oh.
can.
Oh, no,
Yes.
not necessary then. Are we opening this up for a public hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there anyone, I hereby open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I hereby close the public hearing. Council?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the resolution as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public hearing C, 52410, ordinance 1219, rezoning request for 1 Pascal Road from GI to LUI.
Okay, now I'll read the protocol for zoning matters.
Thank you.
When the public hearing is opened, members of council become hearers. No action on their part is in order until the mayor declares the hearing complete. First, city staff will present the request and provide an assessment of compliance with city code. The mayor will then allow up to 10 minutes for speakers on each side of the issue to present evidence. No individual member of the public will be given more than 5 minutes to speak. Time limits may only be extended by a majority vote of council and will be divided equally between those supporting and those opposing the issue. The mayor will recognize the applicant and those supporting the issue to present evidence. Remarks will be limited to a total of 10 minutes. The mayor will then recognize those opposing the issue to present evidence for up to 10 minutes. Prior to closing the public's hearing, city staff and the public will be given the opportunity to ask questions of either or both sides of the issue. When the mayor and council are assured that the presentation of evidence is complete, the public hearing shall be ended, and council may then debate the issue and render a decision. All speakers from the public are asked to follow these rules. Please wait to be recognized by the mayor. Come to the microphone and state your name and neighborhood prior to making remarks. Keep individual remarks under 5 minutes and do not repeat comments. Address all comments to the mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a presentation?
We do. As Kelly mentioned, Robin is out of town, so I'm covering for her on this one. This is Kelly pinch hit during the last one. Before you today is a request to rezone the property from GI to LUI. The purpose is to allow for the subdivision of this property into 2 lots, as stated in the council package. Importantly, the uses allowed in LUI include the uses in both GI and LI, general industrial and light industrial. So in terms of overall development of the property, there's not going to be a substantial, or really any change in the uses that are permitted. Before you is a map. You can see what's being proposed. Ultimately, it would be no lot line from the building in order to subdivide the property going forward. This matter did go before the Planning Commission. Planning Commission recommended approval 4-0 with some added conditions. Those are reflected both in the council package and in the proposed ordinance that's in the package for your consideration. And if you have any further questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
All right. At this time, is the applicant here? Would you like to share a comment?
Good day, Council, Mayor. My name is Adam Boccolini. I live at 345 Quarters Road. I'm on the outside of Peachtree City, but I'm proudly, my business is within Peachtree City. I purchased the old Pascal plant in 2021 and I've started a kind of revitalization program for it. Unfortunately, had some decades of neglect. It is one of the original industries in Peachtree City dating back to the 60s. Really proud of the history. Proud to have saved some jobs, and I hope with this approval and your consideration that I'll be able to continue the revitalization and hopefully grow and bring more jobs to the community. I yield to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I hereby close the public hearing. Council?
Madam Mayor, I can honestly say I'm glad we've got more businesses here and industrial-style businesses in the city. So I looked this over very carefully. I've driven by the place from the outside, and I see no reason why this should not be approved. And I will certainly be in favor of it because we want to support as much as we can, support our businesses, industrial, commercials, et cetera, that are here in this city. So in that case, I'm in favor of this.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I too went past, and I actually parked and walked down and looked between the two buildings and looked at the abandoned rail spur that goes between there, and was very impressed with the fact that they had the two buildings set up so that they could both load onto that rail spur many decades ago, obviously, since there's trees growing up in the rail spur now. I do have one question. Have you seen that? No, yes, you can step up to the microphone. Thank you. Have you read through the whole ordinance that we're going to put through, and do you have any issues that you see as the owner with any of the resolution?
No, ma'am. Robin's been very helpful. I know she's not here today,
Okay.
but we did do a good bit of due diligence. We met with Robin and the team and had some back and forth with our own team, and we're pleased with how we've been guided, and I'm in acceptance with everything as proposed.
Good.
Okay, which means if we pass this, compliance is not a problem for you. I agree with Councilman Holland that we need to do everything we can for the industrial partners that we have here in town to enhance their ability to utilize these facilities. And so I'm very much in favor of this.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Johnson?
I'm in agreement.
Mr. DiStadio?
No, I'm in agreement. I walked down, took a look at the railroad spur. I thought it was really very ancient. I don't know when it was put in, but I think it's a good idea. And I too am in favor of all the industrial support we can give the citizens as well as the community. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Council, can I get a motion and make sure it includes the recommended planning commission conditions as shown in our packet?
Mayor, could I assist?
Please.
If council's willing to
Please.
allow me
I'm
to.
good.
The motion would be to approve the rezoning from GI to LUI and adopt the ordinance that is in the council packet.
So moved.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Thank you,
Good
Mayor.
luck.
Council staff topics? I have none.
No?
Mr. Strickland?
Oh, I do have one thing.
Sure.
You want to talk
Just-
about Memorial Day again?
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll do that in a
Thank-
minute.
do
Ms.
that.
Brown has the floor.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just want to remind Peachtree citizens that we have a primary election in progress, and tomorrow is the last day to cast your ballot. through early in-person voting at the library or in Tyrone. Some of our residents go to Tyrone or elsewhere. There's 4 voting locations. And if you don't vote early, then you have to vote in your precinct on Tuesday. And I'd like to encourage everybody to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Howlett?
Yeah, I just again want to remind all of the residents here and all of the people in the surrounding communities that watch this live stream that we are holding a Memorial Day event here at City Hall on Monday, the 27th of this month, and it's at 9 o'clock, is that correct? It's at 9 o'clock, and it's going to be quite an affair held by the conjunction of, or the cooperation of, both the city and the American Legion. So I encourage you to come and participate. I believe there's going to be a little refreshment after the ceremony. So come on down and celebrate Memorial Day here at City Hall.
Thank you. Mr. Strickland?
A couple items I have. First one is I just want to recognize our fire department. They're celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month this month, they want to draw some attention to mental health and the importance it plays, not just for them as public safety servants, but also just to everybody. I know you guys have been wearing green on Fridays, your staff, to draw attention to mental health awareness. Also, yesterday was National Peace Officers Memorial Day. So that holiday yesterday was to draw attention to our fallen law enforcement officers across the country that have paid the price in protecting our communities. So just wanted to draw attention to that as well, and that we recognize that. And I know Chief Moon's not here this morning, but to recognize our police officers and what they do for our community. So that one. Next one I have is the city picnic tomorrow. Our city offices will be closed citywide from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. for our employees to have a annual picnic that we have. So it's a chance for all of our employees to get together and fellowship and talk with each other and have a good time for a few hours on a Friday. And then the last one I have is, but we're gearing up into budget season. We've had talks with all of our departments. We had a workshop last week about the fee schedule. So just reminding citizens that going into June, we're going to have a few workshops regarding next year's fiscal year 25's budget. So that, I don't have the specific dates here in front of me, but the calendar will be published and we'll let the public know when those workshops will be held. And that's all I have.
All right. Do we have executive session?
Yes, Mayor, we need to discuss pending or threatened litigation in real estate.
Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, move that we move to executive session for pending litigation and real estate.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in executive session.